All right, so I think this is something we've all thought about at one point or another, right? That link between alcohol and happiness.
It's fascinating.
We're actually looking at a podcast excerpt here that was called Alcohol and Happiness, The Complex Connection. So pretty on the nose, you
Yeah.
know? It's going to be interesting to go beyond the surface level stuff.
Right.
What do we actually know about this connection?
Well, I think one of the interesting things is how alcohol kind of tricks us into thinking we're happy,
Uh-huh.
in the short term.
Yeah.
And that really comes down to dopamine.
Oh, so it's that pleasure center.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the neurotransmitter that gives us that that good feeling.
Okay, so we get that hit, and then what else happens?
Well, it also affects our prefrontal cortex,
Which is?
the part of our brain that controls decision making,
Oh,
and it basically kind of puts that on mute for a little while.
okay.
And that's why we feel less inhibited,
Right.
more talkative, ready to maybe dance after a couple of drinks.
But is that always a good thing? I know I've definitely been in situations where I've maybe said or done things after a couple drinks that maybe I regretted later.
Exactly. And that's a really good point because while a little less inhibition can be fun,
Yeah.
too much can lead to miscommunication or conflict,
Right.
which, is obviously not going to boost your mood.
Definitely not.
And it kind of goes back to the whole social connection piece of alcohol as well.
Because I feel like drinking is such a big part of social gatherings.
Right. It's often like the glue that brings people together.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, we have to be careful not to assume that alcohol is the cause of that connection.
I see what you mean.
Think about it. Deep, meaningful conversations, they can happen anywhere,
That's true.
with or without alcohol.
Yeah.
Sometimes they even flow better without it.
I've been in situations where I felt pressured to drink socially, even when I didn't really want to.
Yeah.
Like I was worried I'd be judged
Right.
if I didn't have a drink.
That's super common. And I think it highlights how these cultural norms around alcohol sometimes can actually interfere with our own preferences.
And our happiness?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we get that initial feel-good effect, right, with the dopamine and the lowered inhibitions, but we all know that those good vibes, they don't last forever.
No.
Then you get the hangover.
Yeah.
Speaking from experience, not fun.
No, not a recipe for a happy
Well,
morning.
definitely not. So that hangover, I mean, it's a reminder that alcohol is a depressant at its core, right?
Right.
It's slowing down our
The
system.
central nervous system, yeah.
And then what happens?
So as your body's processing that alcohol and it starts to leave your system,
Hmm.
your brain is basically working overtime to try to rebalance itself.
Oh, wow.
And that can lead to, that fatigue, the anxiety,
Right.
the irritability.
Well, like your brain's punishing you for having fun the night before.
In a way, yeah.
So is that literally what's happening?
Well, alcohol disrupts that delicate balance of neurotransmitters in our brains. And so during that initial buzz, we get that surge of dopamine.
Right.
But then as the alcohol wears off, the levels of other neurotransmitters like serotonin, which plays a key role in mood regulation, they can dip, leaving feeling kind of down.
So it's not just feeling physically bad, it's like a chemical thing happening.
Yeah.
What about sleep? I feel like even if I don't have a full-blown hangover, I wake up after drinking and I just don't feel mentally there.
That's because alcohol messes with our sleep cycles,
Really?
especially REM sleep,
Oh, yeah.
which is that stage of sleep where we process emotions and consolidate memories.
Interesting.
And without enough good REM sleep,
Mm-hmm.
we're just more likely to wake up feeling kind of emotionally off,
Okay.
which then impacts, your happiness.
It's like it's robbing us of the good sleep we need to feel good.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we talked about these immediate effects, right? The high and then the low that can come after. But what about the bigger picture? Does consistently drinking affect our happiness in a more lasting way?
Yeah, that's a really important question and where things get a bit more serious, I think.
Okay.
So while a drink here and there might not have a huge impact, consistently drinking heavily can have major consequences for both our mental and physical well-being.
Right.
And ultimately those consequences, they directly impact our ability to experience true lasting happiness.
It's a sensitive topic for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Affects a lot of people.
Absolutely. And studies have shown a really strong correlation between excessive alcohol consumption and depression.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of counterintuitive, right?
Yeah, because you think if you're feeling down, you have a drink, you feel a little better.
You'd think.
So what's going on there?
Well, it comes back to those neurotransmitters.
Okay.
Remember serotonin?
The mood regulator.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Alcohol actually depletes serotonin over time,
Oh.
which leaves us more vulnerable to anxiety and low mood.
So it's like you're drinking to feel better, but in the long run, it's making you feel
It's
worse.
a vicious cycle.
Yeah. And it probably doesn't stop there.
Unfortunately, no. Alcohol's effects, they reach far beyond just our own mental state.
Oh,
It can really strain our relationships, lead to arguments, miscommunication,
makes sense.
maybe neglecting responsibilities.
Yeah.
It's hard to maintain those healthy, supportive relationships that we need for happiness
Yeah.
when alcohol is causing so much friction.
Right.
And then there's the physical toll that long-term alcohol use takes on the body.
Right. Damaging our organs.
Exactly. Damage to vital organs like the liver, the brain, and that impacts our energy levels, our resilience,
Makes it hard to feel good.
our overall well-being, making it much harder to feel truly happy.
So you're not just feeling down emotionally, but also just not physically capable
Right?
of feeling good.
Yeah.
So is there like a middle ground here?
That's the big question.
Because, can we enjoy a drink and still be happy?
Yeah, and the good news is that for most people, enjoying alcohol occasionally and in moderation can definitely be part of a balanced lifestyle without, significantly impacting their overall happiness.
So it's not about cutting it out entirely. It's more about being intentional
Exactly.
with our choices.
That's where mindful drinking comes in.
What is that?
It's about asking yourself, why am I reaching for this drink? Is it to genuinely celebrate with friends? Or am I using it to mask uncomfortable feelings?
Yeah.
Am I trying to escape stress?
So being honest with yourself about your motivations.
Exactly.
But what about when you're just looking for a mood boost? Are there other things that don't involve alcohol that can make you feel good?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Sometimes I go for a run or just a walk outside and I feel amazing afterward.
Oh, yeah.
It's like my brain is giving me a high five. Your brain is literally rewarding you with endorphins.
Wow.
There's exercise meditation, spending time in nature, connecting with loved ones, hobbies.
Wow.
All these things that naturally boost our mood without the downsides of alcohol.
It's like we have all these tools and we forget about them.
We do, yeah.
Speaking of new ways to find happiness, I've heard about this trend of people going alcohol-free.
Have you heard about that?
Yeah, what is that all about?
It's not just about sobriety anymore.
Oh.
It's like a whole new way to connect and have fun.
Yeah, like sober curious and stuff, right?
Well,
Where people are just curious about what it's like to not drink. I've even seen alcohol-free bars.
Yeah, they're popping up everywhere.
It's so interesting.
It's a whole new social scene.
Yeah.
And it's not just a fad.
What is it about then?
There's some really compelling benefits to going alcohol-free.
Okay.
Beyond just the obvious health perks.
Right.
People report greater mental clarity, feeling more emotionally stable, having more energy
Wow.
to pursue things that they love.
So it's like they're trading the temporary highs for that more consistent,
Exactly.
more sustained well-being.
And they can build deeper connections with people too.
That's right. Because they're not having all those downsides we've been talking about.
It's about reclaiming control over your happiness.
Okay, so to sum up this first part of our deep dive, it seems like alcohol and happiness, the relationship is not so simple.
It's nuanced, yeah.
It's not as straightforward as we might think.
Definitely.
It might give us a quick burst of joy.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like it's the key to
Fair.
long-term happiness.
True happiness is built on meaningful connections, purpose-driven activities and self-care practices.
And those are not things.
Things that alcohol just can't replicate.
Right.
Yeah. And, if you do choose to drink, moderation is really key.
Moderation is key.
Listen to your body. Be aware of your limits. And, don't let alcohol take center stage in your pursuit of happiness.
Right. We started out asking, can alcohol make us happier? And it's like...
It's complicated.
It's complicated. There's no easy answer.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that happiness is multifaceted.
Okay.
It's not about just chasing these temporary highs, but cultivating a life.
Yeah.
That's rich in meaning, connection, self-care.
And those are things that alcohol just can't really give us.
Exactly. Alcohol might offer us like a fleeting glimpse of happiness, but it can be a distraction.
From the real stuff.
From the real work.
Yeah. What do you think our listeners should really be thinking about after they finish listening to this?
I would encourage everyone to kind of reflect on their own relationship with alcohol.
Okay.
Ask yourself, is it adding to my happiness or is it maybe taking away from it?
Yeah.
Are there areas where I could make some healthier choices?
Right?
It's not about judgment. It's about honest self-reflection.
Yeah, I think people worry about being judged if they decide to cut back or even quit altogether.
Right. There's still a lot of stigma around sobriety.
Yeah.
But, it's important to remember that you have the right to make choices that are good for you,
Yeah.
regardless of what other people think.
And there's so much support out there.
There is.
If people want to make a change,
Oh, absolutely.
therapy support groups, online communities, apps,
Yeah.
it's okay to ask for help.
It takes strength and courage
Mm.
to, admit that you want to make a change, and
Yeah.
reaching out for help is a sign of that strength.
So cheers to that.
Cheers.
I mean, with a mocktail this time?
I'll drink to that.
As we're talking about all of this, it really strikes me how our physical and mental health are so connected
Yeah.
when it comes to happiness.
Absolutely. We can't neglect one without impacting the other.
Right.
When we take care of our bodies, we're also nurturing our minds and vice versa.
It's about that holistic balance,
Exactly.
taking care of ourselves on all levels.
So we can be the best versions of ourselves.
And when we feel good physically and mentally, then we're more ready to
Yeah.
experience real happiness.
I think we've uncovered like a secret code to happiness here.
What is it?
It's not about chasing those fleeting pleasures,
Okay.
but it's about making choices that support our well-being.
From the inside out.
From the inside out, exactly.
Yeah.
And that is a recipe for a truly joyful life.
It's funny. We often think of happiness as connected to things like accomplishments or possessions.
Yeah.
Maybe even like having that perfect drink, you know?
Right. We
Yeah.
get so caught up in those external things.
Yeah.
But I think true happiness, it comes from within.
So it's more about inner strengths then, right?
Exactly.
Like resilience and gratitude.
Those are the things that really help us navigate life's ups and downs.
Yeah.
And appreciate those good moments.
So self-awareness, self-care, strong connection.
Ingredients, yeah.
It's about creating a life that truly feels fulfilling.
I like to think of it as like building our own internal happiness generator,
Oh, I like that.
powered by, mindful choices and a deeper understanding of what really matters to us.
It's like a power source that never runs out.
Exactly.
So as we're wrapping up this deep dive into alcohol and happiness, what's that final thought you want to leave our listeners with?
I'd say remember that the journey to happiness is ongoing,
Yeah.
It's a process of continuous self-discovery and growth. Yeah. There will be challenges, but with each step we take towards self-awareness and well-being,
Yeah.
we're moving closer to a life that's truly fulfilling.
That's a great way to put it. So to all our listeners out there, keep seeking, keep exploring, and never stop choosing happiness.
Yes.
Remember, true happiness is an inside job. Cheers to that.
Cheers.